الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, welcome to another class or another session from our series, The Ideal Muslim and the Ideal Muslimah. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we will cover, as I'm going to do, the ideal Muslim and then the ideal Muslimah, and then the ideal Muslim and the ideal Muslimah. So the last class I did the ideal Muslimah. And today, inshallah, I'm going to start again with the ideal Muslim. And the ideal Muslim, the ideal quality or character of a Muslim man is to be a protector, right? I'm almost positive that there's no woman, that there's not many women. Let me say that, because there's always that one woman who says, oh no, I'm not every woman is looking for a man to protect them. Okay, cool. So if you're not looking for a man to protect you, then okay, cool. But the exception to the rule is not the rule. Because you as a woman are not looking for a man to protect you doesn't mean that many women are not looking for men to protect them. All right? But it doesn't take away from the fact that that is a quality of the Muslim man, right, that many women are looking for. All right? So let's talk about this ideal Muslim man as a protector. All right? The religion of Islam takes the Muslim, tasks the Muslim husband with being responsible for the safety and protection and security of his family in general and his wife in more specific. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, very famous ayah that we like to use out of context. The Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the men, الرجال, men, the quality of a good Muslim man, men are the protectors and maintainers of the women. الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are قوامون. Al-Qiyam means to provide financial security, physical security, emotional security, and I'll get to all of that. All right, I'll get to all of that. We kind of only use this ayat as it relates to the financial security, and rightfully so, because at the towards the end of the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains why men are the protectors and maintainers of the women. He said, الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are the protectors and maintainers of the women. بما فضل الله به بعضهم بما فضل الله به بعضهم على بعض. Because Allah has given one more strength than the other. And that means that there's a physical protection. All right? There's a physical protection. We usually use this ayah to talk about the financial security that a man is supposed to provide for the woman. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying something different here. Allah is saying, بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. All right? Because of the strength that Allah has given one of them over the other. Talking about the man. Allah has endowed man with strength. That does not mean that a woman is not strong enough to protect herself. For all you feminists out there, go for it. A man comes and tries to snatch your bag. You know how to fight. Go for it. But that's not your primary job. Your primary job, if you have a husband, if you and your husband are walking down the street, it is your husband's responsibility to protect you. You understand? That is, by commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not to say that as a woman, you can't protect yourself. You don't need to say, I don't need a man to protect me. I can protect myself. Sure, you can. Just like you can provide for yourself. No one is taking that away from you. But it is not your primary responsibility to protect yourself. If you have a man in your life, that is his responsibility. So there's a physical protection Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in this ayah. All right? That doesn't take away from the fact that some women can handle themselves very well. without the presence of a man. Some women are good at protecting themselves. Some of you have firearms. Some of you are licensed to carry firearms. Some of you are good with, whatever weapons you get your hand on. That is not to take anything away from you. But what we are saying is that it is the man's responsibility by way of divine instruction, by way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandment, to protect you. Physical. Because of the strength that Allah has given one over the other. And then Allah says, وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, because the men spend from their wealth. So there's a physical protection in this ayah, and then there's a financial protection in this ayah. You understand? There's a physical element to protection, and there is a financial element to protection. Do you guys follow me? You guys follow me? All right. And that's from this ayah. So understand that. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in the authentic hadith, he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, that all of you are shepherds and all of you are responsible for your flocks. All of you are shepherds and all of you are responsible for your flocks. He said, الرَّجُلٌ رَاعٍ, a man is a shepherd, وَمَسْئُولٌ الرَّجُلٌ رَاعٍ فِي أَهْلِهِ. الرَّجُلٌ رَاعٍ فِي أَهْلِهِ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, that the man is a shepherd over his family. That is protection. What does a shepherd do with the sheep that he is herding, the sheep that he is responsible for? He protects them. الرَّجُلٌ رَاعٍ فِي أَهْلِهِ, that a man is a shepherd over his family. وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, and he will be questioned about how he carried out his responsibility over his family. Because with responsibility comes accountability. You guys follow me? With responsibility comes accountability. Let me see. Maybe I have to block some people. Okay. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying here that men are shepherds over their families. That all of you are shepherds and all of you are responsible for your flock. A man is a shepherd and he is responsible for his family. And he will be accountable. He will be accountable. Well, mas'ulun ar-ra'iyatihi. He is mas'ul. He will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Over his family, about how he handled his responsibility over his family. He said, وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَاعِيَةٌ, and a woman is a shepherd. A woman is a shepherd. وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَاعِيَةٌ فِي بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا وَمَسْئُولَةٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهَا, and a woman is a shepherd, and the woman is a shepherd over her husband's family, over his household, and she will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about how she handled her responsibility. So Islam, right? So Islam gives the man a certain level of responsibility, of protection. All right? If you are ra'i, right? You are a shepherd. That means that within the context of being a shepherd, there is some level of protection there. You guys follow me? All right? In addition, it is instinctive for men, right, to be protective over their families. That is instinctive. You shouldn't have to tell a man to get up at night and check the door, make sure the doors are locked, make sure, the house is secure, right? You shouldn't have to tell a man to do that because it is instinctive for men to be protective, right? Just as we are protective over our wealth, just as we are protective over our shoes and sneakers and the things, our cars, just as we are protective of the things that are important to us, we should also instinctively be protective over the family members that we are responsible for. You understand? A woman should not have to tell a man, babe, did you check the doors to make sure the doors are locked? Did you check the screen door? Did you make sure the windows are locked? Did you make sure these things, you shouldn't have to tell a man to do that. That is instinctive. You didn't have to ask him, did he lock his car door? Guarantee you the car doors are locked, right? So in addition, it is instinctive for men to be protective over their families. If you go back to the story of Musa, alayhi salam, right? In the story of Musa, when he fled to Egypt, He fled Egypt going to the city of Midian, right? You go into the city of Midian. He noticed two women standing off to the side, waiting to water their animals. So he instinctively went over and asked the women, what's wrong? Why are you standing here? He noticed the men standing around the well, giving their animals something to drink from the well. And he noticed standing off to the side that there were two women standing off to the side that, were waiting patiently. So instinctively, as a man, Musa went over to the two girls and he asked them, why are you here? What's the problem? And the two girls, they said that, our father's an old man and we are waiting to water our flocks, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْكُونَ وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ قَالَ مَا خَطَبُكُمَا قَالَتَا لَا نَسْقِي حَتَّى يَصْدُرَ الرِّيَاعَ وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. That Musa alayhi salam, when he arrived in Midian, he saw a group of people there watering their animals, giving their animals something to drink from the well. And he also noticed, وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ إِمْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. He noticed two women standing off to the side by themselves. So he went over to the women and he said, مَا خَطَبُكُمَا. What's wrong with you? Why are you guys over here? Why are you here? And they said, La nasqi hatta yasdur al-riya'a, that we cannot give our animals anything to drink until the men are done. Right? Until the men are done. So Musa, what did he do? Musa grabbed the reins and he went and he gave their animals something to drink. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ فَقَالَ رَبِّي إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٍ. The famous dua that he made. So he took the reins from the women, he walked the animals over to the well, moved his way, positioned his way into where they were, and he gave the animals something to drink. And then he went over to, a tree to relax underneath the shade, and he made the very famous dua, "Oh my Lord, whatever you have prepared for me, I am in need of it now." All right? This was Musa alayhi salam, protective over women who were complete strangers. He didn't know these women. These women were complete strangers. It just shows you that it is instinctive for men, right? Instinctive for men, right? It is instinctive for men to be overprotective of women, even for those women that are, that are not even biologically related to them. So upon another example, let me show you how this is, instinctive in men. Another example is when Musa was leaving Midian. He had got married, began starting his family. He married one of the girls, right? And he began his journey back to Egypt. And upon his return back to Egypt, he noticed a fire. This is when Musa became a prophet, right? He noticed a fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured that very moment when he spoke directly to Musa. When Musa first realized or recognized that he was a prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured this in the Quran. And if that incident, if that moment was not important, it would not be in the Quran. You understand? That if that moment wasn't important, Allah wouldn't have captured it and put it in the Quran. It is in the Quran because there is something important about that. All right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى. Has not come to you the story of Prophet Musa. Has not come to you the story of Prophet Musa. إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا لَعَلِّي آتِيكُم مِّنْهَا بِقَبَسٍ أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدًى. That Musa, on his return back to Egypt, right? Allah says, has not the story of Musa reached you? Has not the story of Moses reached you? Right? He said when he saw a fire as they were traveling, him and his family were traveling, and Musa saw a fire. Instinctively, what did Musa do? He told his family, فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا. He told his family, wait here. Wait here. That is that protective nature of a man. It is instinctive. He saw a fire. He told his family, wait here. Inni anastu naran. I see a fire. I see a fire. He said, لَعَلِّي آتِيكُم مِّنْهَا بِقَبَسٍ. He said, perhaps I can bring you back some information from what's going on about with this fire. أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدًى. Or I can find some type of guidance in, with that fire. Meaning maybe there's some people there. If you're a nomad, you're traveling in the desert and you see smoke, that's one of the ways to tell that there are people there. There are people there. You understand? So what I'm using this to show is the overprotectiveness of men, and that it is instinctive for men. We didn't have to be told by divine revelation to be protective over our women folk, over our wives, over our daughters. You know what I mean? Like this is something that is instinctive. And for some reason, this instinctive, overprotective nature of men has been removed from many of us in the Islamic community. And I'm going to show you how. So, Islamically, the Muslim man is responsible for protecting some of the basic human, elements that the legislation of Islam came to preserve. In Islam, everything that we have of halal and haram are all designed to protect 5 basic human necessities. 5 basic human necessities. Everything of the Sharia, everything of Islamic law, of halal and haram have been designed to protect 5 basic human necessities. And you'll find this in the science of usul al-fiqh. Right? The science of usul al-fiqh. And these 5 things are, number 1, the whole of the legislation of Islam have been sent to preserve and protect human life. Al-hayat, protect life. Number 2, to protect your religion, regardless of what your religion is. In Islam, people who do not share our religion, who live in Muslim countries, they are entitled, they are allowed to keep their religion. They are allowed to keep their religion. I mean, provided that it's not idolatry. That's not something that we can, that's not something that we tolerate. But if you are Christian, you're Jewish, you have any other traditional faith, but, when it comes to idolatry, that is something that goes against every faith. That is something that goes against every faith, Nonetheless, people are allowed to have their religion. In the Muslim tradition, if you go back to the history, the early generations of Islam, whether in Andalus, whether in Spain, and, Muslim Spain, Muslim Africa, you will find that people, even now, Coptic Christians in Egypt, who make up almost, a large portion of their population, they are allowed to keep their, and although there's tension between some of them, that's natural, but they are, by way of Islam, allowed to keep their religion. All right. But Islam has been sent to, preserve life, to preserve religion, to preserve al-aql, to preserve your intellect, to preserve your intellect, and to preserve your wealth. Islam has been sent to preserve your wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the Quran, لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Do not eat up your wealth between each other, in between one another, in falsehood. Meaning, do not find, conniving ways to, take money from one another, taking money from one another. So Islam has been has been sent to preserve and protect the wealth, the life. Allah says that if you take a life, it's as if you have taken the life of all of mankind. Protect your life, your religion, your intellect, your wealth, as well as your honor, your ird. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslim lil-Muslim haramun maluhu wa dammuhu wa ird. That the whole of a Muslim to another Muslim is sacred. His wealth, his honor, and his blood. These things are sacred. All right? The Prophet ﷺ, we have been sent to protect the religion of one another, right? As a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O you who believe, talking to the Muslim men, O you who believe, protect yourselves, save yourselves and your families from a fire. And Ibn Abbas, anhuma, he said this is by enjoining upon your family what is right and forbidding your family from what is haram, what is wrong. Preservation of the religion, preservation of your life, preservation of your intellect, preservation of your wealth, preservation of your honor, right? The Prophet ﷺ said that the worst type of person in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna min ashar al-nas inda Allahi manzilatin yawm al-qiyamah rajulun yufdi ila imra'atihi wa tufdi ilayhi thumma yanshuru sirraha. The Prophet ﷺ said the worst type of man in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a man who goes into his woman, his wife, and she enjoys him intimately, and then he goes and he spreads her secrets, right? Preservation of her honor. Preservation of the honor, right? Preservation of the honor. So it's important that, Muslim men going into a marriage, you have to realize that over your family, over your wife, then you are responsible for these 5 things. You are responsible for protecting the life of your family, including your wife. You are responsible for protecting the intellect of your wife and your family, not belittling her intellect, not making her feel stupid, not making her feel, immature, not making her feel inadequate, right? By using the religion to prop yourself up to make you look like you're more than what you actually are. You understand? You have some Muslim men who use the religion to prop themselves up because you sat in a few classes, you can regurgitate some of the jargon, and you use it to belittle your woman. You use it to belittle your wife, to make her feel less than, to make her feel inadequate because she doesn't know as much Quran as you do. You don't know this ayah, or you don't know the scholars, or you don't know this, or you don't either. You don't either. What are you talking about? She doesn't know the scholars. She doesn't know the dalil. Neither do you. Neither do you. But you can run that on your wife. You can do that to your woman because she doesn't know how to defend herself. And you use the religion to belittle her. Use the religion to make her feel inadequate. You understand? You don't know the dalil either. She doesn't know, because I keep telling my wife she gotta read about Tawheed. She gotta read about this and that. You don't understand either. Most of the brothers, they don't have a grasp of it either. Most of them. But you are responsible for protecting the life of your wife. You are responsible for protecting the intellect of your wife, stimulating her intellectually. Even if you don't know how to, making sure that she has the resources, right? The resources to stimulate herself intellectually. We telling our wives, I don't want you listening to this brother or that brother. So who you want her to listen to? Somebody that doesn't stimulate her intellectually? Somebody, when she listens to them, she has to dumb herself down in order to actually follow along with this person? That's who you want your wife to listen to? Or you want your wife to listen to somebody who's going to stimulate her intellectually when you can't? Real talk. Real talk. I don't want you listening to this brother, or I don't want you listening to that brother. She is, in her own zone at home, stimulating herself intellectually, spiritually, right? And you come in, I don't want you listening to this brother, and you turn it off. Well, when the last time you taught her something, genius? When the last time you sat down and taught her something? All right, you don't want me listening to him or him, then you teach me. Well, then you teach me. Then where am I supposed to learn? Oh, I want you to listen to these brothers. Well, guess what? These brothers, genius, these brothers are intellectually deficient. They don't do it for me. They don't stimulate me. I can barely listen to them. You pop in a tape of this brother and that brother, and it's just like, oh my God, like you can't even give me a full, sentence in English, let alone sit here and listen to an hour-long lecture of somebody screaming at the top of their lungs and talking about a bunch of nothing. Talking about a bunch of nothing. Absolutely. It's not intellectually stimulating. So you are responsible for protecting the life of your wife. You are responsible for protecting the intellect of your wife. You are responsible for protecting the religion of your wife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Enjoin upon your family's salah. Encourage your family to pray. If your family don't see you, and we're talking about encouraging in a healthy way. Not, becoming a bully, not becoming, authoritarian in the home, backed by the religion, right? Because Islam backs you. You can pull an ayat, a hadith to justify any approach that you take in your home. Stop using a religion to justify that. So you are responsible for protecting the life, the intellect, the wealth of your wife, right? If she has income, to help her create income for herself, to help her to become financially independent of you, because financial codependence is just another form of abuse. And I hope you sisters understand that. Financial codependence is another form of abuse. And you have some brothers who love the fact that they control all of the finances and they use it to abuse their wives. I don't mind men hating on me for saying this stuff. I've been saying this stuff for years. It's not the first time I've said it. I don't mind. That doesn't bother me. I don't lose one iota of sleep. I still get 8 hours every night. I don't lose not one iota of sleep because a brother or a sister takes issue with what I say. You understand? That's what I like to believe separates me from everybody else. A leader is not someone who waits for a consensus to say something. I don't wait for people to agree with me to say what I need to say. I say what I need to say. If you and your feelings, I can't help you with that. That's your journey. However, in recent times, many Muslim men have lost a sense of overprotectiveness with their families on many levels. On many levels. We as Muslim men, many of us have lost this overprotectiveness over our families. We are responsible for protecting their lives. We are responsible for protecting their honor. We are responsible for protecting their religion. We're responsible for protecting their wealth. And we are responsible for protecting their intellect. These are 5 basic necessities that if you are not ready to become a protector over these 5 things as it relates to a woman, then you are not ready for marriage. You are not ready for marriage. If you are not ready to become responsible for these 5 things as it relates to another person, you are not ready for marriage. This is one of the telltale signs that you are not ready for marriage. If you are not ready to be a protector over the life, the wealth, the intellect, the religion, and the honor of your wife, then you are not ready for marriage. Just chalk it up as something that is beyond your capacity at this particular moment in your life and move on. Either fast every other day as the Prophet ﷺ instructed us, or go find another way for you to satisfy yourself, and then you have to deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that. But you're not ready for marriage. In recent times, many Muslim men have lost a sense of overprotectiveness over their families on many levels. Whether it is financial protection, whether it is physical protection, whether it is religious protection. Some men allow their women to go out of the home in any fashion they want and engage in any type of relationship they want with anybody they want. This is what's called a dayuth. The Prophet ﷺ said, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا يَنْظُرُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. There are 3 people that Allah will not look at on the day of judgment. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا يَدْخُلُنَّ الْجَنَّةِ. 3 people who will not enter into paradise. And one of them is a dayuth, a cuckold. A man who is a woman in the relationship. She calls all of the shots in the relationship under the guise of, I ain't with this whole traditional roles or whatever. I'm going to stay who I am and I'm going to do me even though I'm in a marriage with you. La wallahi, it don't work like that. Stay single. Sister, if you are not ready to be in a role, then don't go into marriage. But you don't get to come into a marriage and decide how you're going to finagle that role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. It doesn't work like that. That's not marriage. So, as a matter of fact, many Muslim men have become perpetrators of the same abuse that they are supposed to be protecting their families from. Many Muslim men have become perpetrators of the same abuse that they are supposed to be protecting their families from, in the form of domestic violence, which is about control and domination over another person in an intimate relationship. The hadith of the Dayuth is the one. No, that's not tyrannical. They don't use that. They can't possibly use that to justify tyrannical behavior, because if you understand what a Dayuth is, then it's not centered around controlling someone. Because if a man feels that a woman is going to do her in a relationship, he has one or two options. Either he can advise her in what is best, in the way that is best, in hopes, and be patient in hopes that she will change that behavior or alter that behavior, or he can pull out of the situation. But using it to force a woman to be other than who she is and what she is, this is not the understanding of the hadith of the Dayuth. Because you have two options. You can enjoin upon your wife what is good in a manner that is good, or you can pull out of the situation realizing that what you are dealing with is beyond your capacity. But to stay in a relationship and force her to be other than who and what she is, this is not the understanding of the Dayuth. The Dayuth is a man who continuously remains in a relationship with a woman who is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he continues to remain in a relationship with her. You can pull out of that relationship. You can say, you know what? This is not working for me. I'm out. You are divorced. But you don't stay in a relationship and force the one. That's not the, I don't understand how a man could use that hadith to be tyrannical towards their women, except that they misunderstand the hadith. The hadith does not condone forcing someone. It doesn't mean that you're a Dayuth, or to escape being a Dayuth that you have to be tyrannical and domineering over your woman to be obedient to you in every single regard. That's not the understanding of what a Dayuth means. We have a lot of teaching. The men just don't. They learn from Islam what they want to learn from. They take what they want to take. Selective Sunnah syndrome. They pick and choose. Like, we need more teachings like this. This stuff goes on. People are talking about it. It's going on. It's happening. I have been talking about this stuff literally for the past 10 years of my life. Maybe more than that. The first time I ever picked up a microphone and started talking about marriage was 2007. When I graduated from the Islamic University and I came home, many of you were around back then. I was doing lectures on Pal Talk from the chapter of marriage from Sahih al-Bukhari. I have been talking about this same stuff since 2007. Y'all not listening though. Y'all don't hear. You hear what you want to hear when you need to hear it. That's it. It's not that people are not talking about this stuff. People have been speaking about this stuff. People are not listening. You guys are asleep. You're asleep, and that's not my fault. I'm sorry. I can't condone that. Don't say we need to have more lectures on this, or we need to have more people need to listen to. No, this stuff has been talked about, man. It has been talked about. So, many Muslim men have lost sense of overprotectiveness over their families on many levels. On many levels. All right. As a matter of fact, many of them have become perpetrators of the same abuse that they are supposed to protect their families from, in the form of domestic violence, which is about control and domination over another person in an intimate relationship. And some of the tactics that men use, and because some men right now some men who this lecture may reach them, and they may believe that they are not a domestic abuser. Domestic abuse is rampant in the Muslim community. Domestic abuse is rampant. So let me show you some of the tactics that are used by a domestic abuser. All right? Number one, fear. We use fear. Number two, we use guilt. Right? We do the reverse psychology. We make you feel guilty as a woman. Men, we use intimidation. right? We use intimidation, right? I'm going to divorce you. This ain't working. I think we should go our separate ways. This is all tactics. Tactics for him to stay in control. For him to stay in a domineering, position, right? Fear, guilt, intimidation, shame. We use shame. So you're just going to ask for a khula? Right, mashallah. You're gonna shame the person into staying in an abusive relationship. Shame them, right? Violence, we use physical violence, right? We use denial, right? Gaslighting techniques. No, I'm not doing that. We use blame. We blame you. We blame the woman for all of the problems that we are having, right? And we use control, whether financial, whatever the case may be. These behaviors have led to much of the depression, anxiety, low sense of self-worth, and feelings of helplessness that many Muslim women are experiencing right now in our ummah. This behavior right here. This behavior right here has led to much of the depression, anxiety, low sense of self-worth, feelings of helplessness that many Muslim sisters are experiencing right now in our ummah. Right now, there are tons of Muslim sisters in our communities that are experiencing depression, that are experiencing anxiety, that are experiencing a sense of low self-worth, low self-esteem, insecurities, depression, you name it, as a result of the tyrannical rulers that we call husbands. Islamically, we have a responsibility to protect other people. Brothers and sisters, you guys on Facebook Live, if you guys can kind of tone down your conversation, because you're having a conversation while I'm having a conversation. I need you guys to listen to this, all right? Especially the men. I need you brothers to listen to this. Listen to this. Islamically, we have a responsibility to protect others from our pain. Because hurt people hurt people. If you, brother, I'm talking to you, brother, that are listening, or you will listen at some point. If you are in pain, it is your responsibility to make sure that you do not superimpose or inflict or project your pain onto other people. You have to contain your pain within yourself and not allow that pain to trickle over into your relationships with other people. Islamically, you have a responsibility to protect other people from your pain. Protect other people from your pain. It is important that we don't project our pain on other people. The Prophet ﷺ instructed us not to do this. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La darar wa la dirar." There is no harming another person or reciprocation of harm. Meaning because somebody harmed you, you're going to harm them. There's no harming nor reciprocation of harm. La darar wa la dirar. These type of hadith are giving us social skills. Teaching us social skills. Teaching us social skills. Many of us are socially awkward. We don't know how to function in a healthy social environment with other people. We live in our own heads, and then we force other people to live in our heads with us. I am not living in your world. You are living in the world that is around you. And you have to interact with the world that is around you in a healthy way. Even if you are sick, even if you need help, you have issues. You have unprocessed trauma and pain in your life. You understand? The Prophet ﷺ said, "La darar wa la dirar." There's no harming of people or reciprocation of harm. This is to remove that hurt people cycle, syndrome that we are in. We are a bunch of hurt people walking around hurting other people, leaving behind a trail of tears in these relationships. And we're using marriage as the platform to do this. We're forcing other people, yes, to live in our heads with us. You believe that you're supposed to be treated like this, the world is supposed to interact with you like that, and you pull everybody into your matrix. You pull everybody into your matrix. Welcome to the real world. People don't function like that, man. This is not the real world. This is your world. And so you're forcing everybody that you come in contact with to interact with you in a way that you believe that you should be treated. It doesn't work like that. And then when we don't get what we believe we want or we need, then we push everybody away. You're divorced. This is not working. I want out of this situation. We run away from every time somebody interacts with us in a way that we believe goes against with the faith or the belief that we should be treated. How we believe we should be treated, we toss everybody away. We throw everybody out. It's not fair. The Prophet ﷺ said that when we leave out of our homes, we should make a dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an azilla aw uzalla aw udhilla aw udhalla aw adlam aw udhlam aw ajhala aw yujhala alayya. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you as I step out of my home. Pay attention to this dua. The Prophet ﷺ was teaching us social skills. The Prophet ﷺ was teaching us social skills. He said, when you leave out of your home, you should supplicate. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from making a mistake or someone causing me to make a mistake or causing someone else to make a mistake. I seek refuge with you from slipping, from making a mistake or causing somebody else to make a mistake. Or from, harming someone or somebody harming me. And I seek refuge with you from oppressing someone or someone oppressing me. And I seek refuge with you from being indignant with others and having someone act indignant with me. What we learn from this hadith, the core concept from this hadith, is that we have a dual responsibility of protecting ourselves from the harms of other people and protecting other people from our harm. Right. We have a responsibility to protect ourselves from the harm of the world outside us and to protect other people from our harm. You seeking refuge with Allah from oppressing someone or having someone oppress you. I don't want to oppress anyone. And I don't want anybody to oppress me. You understand? We have a dual responsibility. So while Muslim women are looking for a man to protect and maintain them, she should also be expecting from that same Muslim man to protect her from him also. So Muslim sisters, when you say that you're looking for protection and maintenance, the protection should be from him as well. I need you to protect me from you as well. You understand? Muslim men, just as we are here to protect our women from the harm of the outside world, we are also responsible for protecting our women from our harm as well. If you are in pain, then you are to protect your wife, your family from your pain as well. You understand? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, right, that we've arrived at adulthood and we've done so with much unprocessed hurt and pain that sometimes gets triggered in a relationship. We have so much built up pain and trauma from childhood, right, that we go into relationships and our wife is triggering all of it. So we're triggered, right? It's not the wife's fault and vice versa. It's not the husband's fault. It's you have baggage, which is unprocessed negative emotions that you have never taken the time out to process on your own. So your spouse is only triggering you, right? Your spouse is triggering you. Every turn, they're triggering you. They're doing something, saying something, and you're triggered. And you begin to explode. You go from 0 to 100. right? You're exploding at every single turn, not because your spouse is actually doing something to you intentionally, but your spouse is triggering past trauma and pain that you have yet to process. Unpack your bags, brothers and sisters. Unpack your bags. Stop going into these relationships with unprocessed negative emotions. Unpack your bags. When you are single, if you are unmarried right now, this is the great time, an excellent opportunity for you to do some introspection, some self-reflection, and begin to unpack your bag by yourself. That is your journey. You understand? That is your journey. Wa alaikum salam, Haas, alhamdulillah. Thanks for joining us. You understand? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that we've arrived at adulthood, and we've done so with so much unprocessed hurt and pain that tends to get triggered in intimate relationships, and we respond to those triggers with physical, emotional, and even sexual abuse. All right, this is where it's about to get, a little touchy. Pay attention. Understand that we've arrived at adulthood. We're adults, but we're adults with childhood trauma. We're adults with childhood pain and trauma that has yet to be processed. And then we go into marriage. Our spouse is triggering us, and we respond to those triggers with physical, emotional, and even sexual abuse. Understand? In recent times, increased incidents of increased incidents of sexual abuse against children, both biological and blended, in the form of rape, molestation, emotional abuse, have proven that there is a serious neglect on the part of Muslim men to identify and remedy their past trauma and pain in order to protect those who end up in close and intimate relationships with them. Let me say that again for the people in the back who are not listening. In recent times, increased incidents of sexual abuse against children, both biological children and blended children, in the form of rape, molestation, emotional abuse, right, have proven that there is a serious neglect on the part of many Muslim men to identify and remedy their past trauma and pain in order to protect those who end up in close and intimate relationships with them. You can't imagine. I get at least one message, Facebook message, email every week of a sister disclosing the fact that her daughter or her niece or someone close to her has been sexually abused, whether molested, raped, emotionally abused by somebody that she was either previously married to or currently married to. Wallah al-Azim, facts all day long. I don't have to make this stuff up. Brother Hassan is online. He can attest to that. Brother Hassan and Ayala, they deal with the same thing. At least one email a week. At least one email a week that I am receiving, whether by Facebook message or by email, or however the person decides to reach out to me about some sexual abuse that a child of theirs or a niece or some, young lady under their auspices has been a victim of some type of sexual abuse. This is real talk. By men, Muslim men, that are supposed to be protecting their families. from this type of harm. But we are so traumatized and so deeply in our own pain that we have yet to identify our trauma and our pain and remedy it in a manner whereby we can protect our own families from our own trauma and pain. Facts all day long. So, we're coming to a conclusion here. We're going to have to do a part 2 on this because I have 5 reasons that have led to abuse in the Muslim community. 5 reasons, and I'm going to give you one of them today. And inshallah ta'ala, in the next class, we'll cover the other 4, bi'idhnillah. Five reasons that have led to these, this increase in abuse. And it's not actually an increase. This stuff has always existed. This stuff has always existed. This stuff has always existed. It's just that we are now bold enough to start talking about it publicly. This sexual abuse has always existed. I'm guaranteeing you right now that if I did a poll out of, I would say 3 out of every 5 Muslim households, some girl somewhere has been sexually abused, whether in the form of rape, molestation, emotional abuse. I would say 3, if not, I'm not exaggerating, 3 out of every 5 households has daughters, girls in it that have been abused. Facts all day long. You guys can continue talking about Tawheed. You guys can continue talking about Aqidah and the Minhaj of the Salaf and all. You can continue talking about that stuff, acting like these things don't exist. I cannot do that. I cannot meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing that this stuff exists and having said nothing about it. To at least give brothers and sisters an opportunity to heal, an opportunity to remedy their pain. I'm just telling you from my own personal experience. I've been in this for a long time. I didn't start giving dawah yesterday. I didn't start dealing with Islamic communities yesterday. I've been around for a long time. And I mean like in it. Not just on the surface. In it. You understand? So I'm going to give you 5 reasons why these incidents of sexual abuse and physical abuse, right? I'll be in North Carolina in October, inshallah ta'ala, for a symposium about domestic violence. If you're in the Charlotte area, inshallah ta'ala, yes, the rape of boys too. Absolutely. 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 It goes on everywhere. New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Atlanta, you name it. And I singled out those 4 places. New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. I singled out those 4 places for a reason. You can check out backgrounds. Because the thing about it is that in the Muslim community, we're silent. We don't say anything. Wallah al-Azim, a sister will know that her husband has an STD. She knows her husband has an STD. She's living with it. He gave it to her. And then she'll know, this same sister will know that her husband is seeking to marry another woman in polygyny and will say nothing to the woman about the fact that this man has an STD. She'll say nothing. Nothing. It's not my business to tell her. What the hell do you mean it's not your business to tell her? Are you serious? You know your husband has an STD. You know that your husband is about to marry this other woman. And you will sit back and say it is not your responsibility to tell this woman that your husband has an STD? You have got to be kidding me, man. You have got to be kidding me. That's not your responsibility to say something. You will know that your husband beats your brains out physically, punches you in the face, punches you in the mouth, and your husband is going to marry another woman and you will say nothing about it. Subjecting your sister in Islam to the same pain and trauma that you were subjected to. Don't tell me this stuff don't go on, right? But then we'll sit around and backbite one another, right? But the things that we should be saying, we say nothing about. We'll sit around and backbite and talk frivolously about one another from a hating perspective, from a jealous perspective, from an envious perspective. And you'll sit around and talk about another sister like a dog. But then when your husband is going to inflict the same pain that he inflicted on you on another woman, you say absolutely nothing about it because you don't want to backbite. You have got to be kidding me, man. You Muslims are sick, man. You are sick, man. And sometimes I really feel like I'm living in a different world. I really feel like a stranger. Because when I hear this stuff, I'm just like, man, in what world is this acceptable? In what world? In what world is it acceptable for your husband to physically abuse you, lump your eye up, bust your mouth, and then your husband is going to go marry another woman and bring another woman into his dysfunctional situation, and you sit back and say absolutely nothing about it? It's psychotic, man. Psychotic. Sometimes, wallah al-azim, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I am only here to address this stuff. But as a practicing Muslim, wallah al-azim, I feel like a complete stranger. I feel like I live in a completely different world. You have Muslims who get high, come to the masjid high, post pictures of themselves online, with bottles and, getting high like it's nothing. Meanwhile, you waking up every day sober, living your life, living your best life sober. Meanwhile, you got many Muslims. I would, if not exaggerating, I would like to say 60% of Muslims here in America get high, drink, or use some form of drug. Facts all day long. Muslims get high. Muslims use drugs. Facts all day long. I don't have to exaggerate this stuff, man. I'm telling you what I know. And still come to the masjid like everything is cool. Muslims commit major sin like fornication and adultery we have become functioning addicts. Functioning addicts. We have learned how to commit major sin and still function in the Muslim community like everything is okay. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here scratching my damn head trying to figure out what in the world is going on here. Is this what the Prophet ﷺ referred to when he said glad tidings to the stranger? Because I'd be damned if I don't feel like a daggone stranger, man. I'd be damned if I'm looking out into the Muslim community like, well, what the? Like, where? Like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Gotta be kidding me, man. Here we are, man. So let me give you number one from the reasons why this abuse goes on in these homes for Muslim men. I want you guys to listen to me, right? I want you guys to pay attention because I'm about to tap in deeply to a side of us that, we haven't really taken a look at. Number one is difficulty in tolerating injury to our ego. That's number one. Part of the reason that abuse exists in a lot of these homes, I'm talking about physical abuse now. I'll get to the sexual abuse. Physical abuse, domestic violence. One of the reasons that physical abuse, domestic violence, abuse exists in a lot of these homes is because as men, we have difficulty tolerating injury to our ego. We don't know how to have feelings of hurt and pain without retaliating in a manner that is hurtful. You understand? We don't know how to have our feelings hurt without retaliating in a manner that is hurtful, both physical and emotional. Men, when our egos get touched, when we feel like this woman that we are living with, this woman that loves us, says something to us that offends our ego, we feel like we got to strike back with the same amount or even a greater amount of hurt and pain, both physically and emotionally. We have a difficulty tolerating injury to our ego. Facts all day. This is because in Islam we have jargon that Muslim men are the the patriarchs of their homes. They are the authority. They are this. They are that. We use these hadith to build ourselves up and building our egos at the same time. And God forbid he's a student of knowledge. God forbid that the person has memorized some Quran and hadith. You can't tell him nothing. You can't tell him nothing. Those in those realms, and only the women who have been married to people in those situations can tell you the real about that. We have difficulty tolerating injury to our ego. When our feelings get hurt, we have to retaliate with pain and hurt that is either equal or even far above the injury that was done to our ego, whether physically or emotionally. And this is an important social skill that we are lacking as men, that has been emphasized all throughout the Quran. All throughout the Quran and the Quran and the Sunnah emphasizes high levels of tolerance. And for men to put their egos to the side and to be tolerant of injury, because that's where humility comes from. That's where you learn how to be humble when someone is, attacking you in a certain way and you put your ego to the side. This is an important social skill that as men, we are lacking. We are lacking. And so all throughout the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, emphasis has been placed upon tolerating, to have high levels of tolerance, and to put our egos to the side. Again, looking at the story of Musa alayhi salam. The story of Musa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him tolerance, knowing, or Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tolerance. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tasked Musa with going to have a conversation with a tyrant. Understand? Follow me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tasked Musa with going to have a conversation with a known tyrant responsible for killing many from Bani Israel, just the men of Bani Israel. So this guy had no respect for men at all. He had no respect for men from Bani Israel, evidenced by the fact that he was offing them, he was killing them. And the same man, the Prophet ﷺ, tasked Prophet Musa with going to have a conversation with him. How do you go and have a conversation with a tyrant, other than the fact that you have to have some level of tolerance? Because this man is obviously going to say or do something that's going to be offensive. He's arrogant. He's arrogant. So he's going to say and do something. Some of us as brothers, we avoid having conversations with other brothers under the guise that, he's arrogant. I don't know how many times I've heard that. Did you go have a conversation? Did you go advise Brother Shadeed? Nah, he's arrogant. He don't accept advice. Nah, you a coward. You're a coward. You lack tolerance. You lack the testicular fortitude to go and have a conversation with another man because you want good for him. You would much rather chalk it up as the person is arrogant. He doesn't listen. He doesn't accept advice from anyone. So I'm not going to go have a conversation with him. Meanwhile, you go on a public tirade of backbiting and slandering and gossiping. You understand what I'm saying? Rather than, growing a couple and having a conversation with the person. Not going to happen. All this, in the Salafi community talking about advice, in the Deen and Nasiha, advices from the religion. They don't advise anybody. None of them. They don't advise any one of them. None of them. They don't have the testicular fortitude. They don't have the masculinity that is necessary to sit in front of another man and have a fair exchange of views with that man. They don't have it. They ain't built for it. They're not built for it. So all of that talk about advice and advising your brother for the sake of Allah, that's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's a farce. It's not real. Because they don't do it. They don't exercise it. The women and the men. They ain't built for it. Islam is a man's religion. For the men, for our role in this deen, it requires you to be a certain type of man. You understand? When you look at the Prophet ﷺ, he was a certain type of man. Look at Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who walked out in front of Quraysh and began to recite Quran out loud in front of Quraysh, in front of everybody. And they beat him. Quraysh beat him. But he had the fortitude to go out in front of Quraysh and let them hear the Quran recited. No fear. That's what I mean when I say unapologetically Muslim. You understand? Somebody posted on Twitter, somebody please explain to me what is an unapologetic Muslim. If I got to explain that to you, then don't even bother trying to understand it. If I got to explain what it means to be unapologetically Muslim, then don't even bother yourself trying to fathom or unwrap your head around the term, because you ain't going to get it. Why does somebody have to explain what that actually means? It's just mockery of the deen. Mockery. Can please somebody explain to me what it means to be an unapologetic Muslim? If I got to explain that to you, don't even bother, man. As the scholars say, al-ma'ruf la yu'arraf. Something that is well known shouldn't have to be explained. I shouldn't have to explain to you something that's already understood. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud going out in front of Quraysh, reciting Quran out loud and being beat for it, that is what it means to be an unapologetic Muslim. You understand? We don't have to use modern day examples. The clip of the sister who was accepting her, either high school diploma or her college degree, and she walked across the stage and her professor or the dean of the university stuck his hand out and she said, "Thank you." That is what it means to be unapologetically Muslim. You want examples? I'll give you example after example after example. She walked across the stage to receive her degree, and the president of the university stuck his hand out to shake her hand in front of thousands of people, and instead of shaking his hand, she went like this. That is what it means to be unapologetically Muslim. You understand? Since we live in the world of images, right? Instagram is all about images. I just painted for you a picture of what it means to be unapologetically Muslim. And we're still saying, can someone please explain to me what it means to be unapologetically Muslim? Gotta be kidding me, man. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So, Musa alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make him more tolerant of Fir'aun's oppression, knowing that going to sit and have a conversation with this tyrant, he's going to most likely say something that's going to offend me. So Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Oh my Lord, expand for me my chest and make my task easy. This is what Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, knowing that he was getting ready to go have a conversation with a tyrant, knowing that the possibility of, that there was a possibility that this tyrant was going to say something that was offensive. Here was a man who said, Ana rabbukumul a'la, I am your Lord the Most High. Quite naturally. Quite naturally. He's a tyrant. He's going to say something that's going to be offensive. And in order for me to convey what I need to convey to him, I have to have some level of tolerance. And as Muslim men, many of us, we lack that. Even with one another, we lack that as Muslim men with one another, let alone our interaction with our wives. There is zero tolerance. We chalk it up as, oh, you're being disrespectful. How is she being disrespectful? So every time somebody says something to you, point something out about you, your flaw, your mistakes, or whatever the case may be, they're being disrespectful. Because your wife called you on something that you did wrong, and now she's being disrespectful. Oh, you're being disrespectful. Conversation is over with. That's how we shut the whole thing down. We shut it all down under the guise of being disrespectful. No, your ego was touched. You have difficulty tolerating injury to your ego. That's what it is. And possibly this is the result of many of us as men, as boys, right? We grew up sometimes with parents or a parent, especially a single mom, who placated our image of this perfect self, right? We thought that we were perfect little boys. Our mothers, single mothers, they placated our feelings because somehow they felt guilty for divorcing our fathers, from moving on from our fathers. So she had to overcompensate. So some of you women, you overcompensate with your boys, not realizing that you are creating an animal. You, single mother, I'm talking to you right now, single mother. You placate in the feelings of your boys, making him believe that he is the perfect specimen of a child. It's not his fault that you and his father are divorced. He's perfect. He's this. You build the child up to such a degree that he begins to think in his mind that he is perfect. Then he goes into a marriage with a woman who begins to point out his flaws and his mistakes. She is attacking the perfect image that he has of himself. Understand? You women, you're doing this to your boys. Stop overcompensating. Children will get over it. They will understand. We are adults. We make decisions. Sometimes it don't work out. No, it's not your fault, but that does not mean I'm going to placate your feelings. As my son, I'm not going to do that, because you need to be tolerant of the fact that people are going to point out your faults and your mistakes. People are going to point out, well, it doesn't matter where it is, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's at work, it doesn't matter. Friendships, people are going to offend you. This is a social skill that we're teaching children. That people are going to offend you. People are going to say things that are going to hurt your feelings. You have to learn how to be humble and to tolerate in order for you to have relationships with anybody. And Islam teaches us social skills. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, al-mu'min alladhi yukhalitu an-nas وَيَصْبِرَ عَلَى أَذَاهُمْ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ الَّذِي لَا يُخَالِطُ النَّاسِ وَلَا يَصْبِرَ عَلَى أَذَاهُمْ. That the believer who mingles with people and is patient with the harm that he receives from them is better than the believer who does not mix with people and is not patient with the harm that he receives from people. You understand? It's natural. This is a social skill. The believer who mingles with people and it is patient with the harm that he receives from people is better than the Muslim, than the believer who does not mix with people, right? Antisocial, doesn't mix with people, and is not patient with the harm that he receives from people. This is a social skill that our religion teaches us. Facts. This is a social skill. So meanwhile, many of you women and many of you dual parent households are creating monsters by placating the feelings of your sons, making them believe that they are the perfect specimen of a boy, perfect specimen of a son. And then they grow up and they go into marriages, and the moment their wives point out their flaw or mistake, oh, they hit the roof. Because who are you to tell me that I am imperfect? My mother has been telling me my entire life that I am perfect. You understand? My mother has been telling me my entire life that I'm a perfect little boy. It wasn't my fault that they got divorced. And I'm perfect. And then I go into a marriage with a woman and she shatters my whole entire image of myself by showing me that I'm not perfect and I can't handle it. So I respond with an equal level of pain, whether emotional abuse or physical abuse. Facts. Being able to tolerate hurt is an important social skill, because in intimate relationships, we are bound to get hurt by other people. If you toss away everybody that hurts you, you're going to end up lonely by yourself. You can't escape it. You can't get away from it. People are going to say things that's going to hurt your ego. Do you toss them away and end up by yourself, Or do you toss your ego aside and continue to have relationships with people even though they can see that you are not perfect? This is exactly why you end up divorced. Exactly. Allah tells us in the Quran, لا تسمعون من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم ومن الذين أشركوا أذى كثيرا وإن تصبروا وتتقوا فإن ذلك من عزم الأمور. In Surah number 3, ayat 186. In Surah number 3, ayat 186, Allah says that you will hear from those who have been given the book from before you and from those who associate partners with Allah, أذًا كثيرا. You will hear many things that are going to upset you. When you are engaging in dialogue and conversation with people from other faiths, other religion, they are going to say things that are going to offend you. But Allah says, وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا. But if you are patient with them, وَتَتَّقُوا, and you are fearful of Allah, conscious of Allah in your interaction with them, فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. This is from the highest levels of moral excellence. This is from the highest levels of moral excellence. All right, so I'm going to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, but this is what I wanted to present. Inshallah, in the next class, the next time we do the Muslim man, the ideal Muslim man, I will continue with the other four, inshallah ta'ala. And next Monday, inshallah, I will do the ideal Muslimah. And the ideal Muslimah next week for you sisters is going to be beauty. Most men want a sister that's beautiful. I don't know a brother, unless he just, lives on a different planet, except that he wants a woman that is beautiful. However, there's some components to beauty that sisters need to take a look at, inshallah ta'ala. So while the sisters are cheering on and hoping the brothers hear this, next week I'm sure the brothers will be cheering on and hoping that the sisters hear this. My job is not to, take aside the brothers or the sisters, because we all got issues. My job is to put everything on the table. I'm not a champion for the women or sisters. I'm not a champion for the brothers. I am a champion of truth. You understand? I don't champion anybody's cause. At least I like to believe that I champion the truth. That's it. That's it. All right. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. I don't have any time for any questions, inshallah. If you have any questions, then you can post your comments underneath the lecture. Bi'idhnillah. Jazakumullahu khairan for taking time out of your schedule. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.